This has to be some kind of record with how quick this resolved. It was just a week ago that Nintendo filed this lawsuit, and then YUZU, the Nintendo Switch emulator, they responded with a waiver of service, like, hey, you don't have to service any documents, no money, time spent doing public service. We acknowledge that we're part of this lawsuit, and that was it. Now it's Monday, and it has been resolved. There is a joint motion for entry of final judgment and permanent injunction, meaning that both parties came to the conclusion that, yeah, we agree this is how it would have turned out in court. Apparently, that's the way it seems. Like, okay, we agree. Let's just not go through this whole process. Let's agree on these terms and we're good. And it's not good for plenty of people out there. There's a lot of people in my comments as we talked about this who seem to think things would go a certain way. And unfortunately, in my eyes, the only winners, no matter how it could have went Nintendo, it could have went, YUZU. No matter whose favor it went in, the aftermath was going to be kind of weird. And the only winners were going to be the lawyers, making those fees representing these companies, and the courts and their fees and whatnot. That's just the way it goes. Those are the winners and these kind of things. But unfortunately, Nintendo won this, and YUZU kind of agreed, okay, this is our agreement. Let's go ahead and pay you guys monetary relief of $2.4 million. But that's not it. That's not it, my friend. This is or my friends, unless there's only one single person watching this video. But this joint motion, that's all it talks about, is a $2.4 million in favor of Nintendo against defendant. Tropic Haze and Nintendo also jointly moved the court to enter the final judgment and permanent injunction filed contemporaneously herewith as Exhibit A. We do finally have Exhibit A. That's what I was waiting for, to see what the actual terms of this were, because it couldn't just be the monetary relief, right? Defendant and its members acknowledge that the award of monetary relief here bears a reasonable relationship to the range of damages and attorney fees and full costs that the parties could have anticipated would be awarded at and following a trial of this action. Defendant and its member acknowledge and agree that the findings of fact set forth in this final judgment and permanent injunction are true and accurate. So there's really no reason to read all this, because this is the just the initial thing. We have to look at Exhibit A. So if you want to get these documents, just like the initial 41-page filing from Nintendo, I will have them up on my website so you can download them, read through word by word, collect it, frame it. I don't freaking know. It'll be available at madlittlepixel.com. But Exhibit A, this is where the nastiness comes in for a lot of people here, because it's not just that $2.4 million. There's more to it. So here's the final judgment and permanent injunction. This matter came before the court on parties' joint motion for entry of final judgment. The court makes the following findings of fact. Nintendo of America markets and distributes video games, okay? The Switch and Nintendo Switch video games contain technological measures that effectively control access to copyrighted works. Nintendo owns valid copyrights and works protected by the technological measures. YUZU, a video game emulator, circumvents the technological measures and allows for the play of encrypted Switch games on devices other than a Switch. For example, YUZU executes and decrypts Nintendo Switch video games immediately before and during runtime using unauthorized copies of Switch cryptographic keys. YUZU is primarily designed to circumvent and play Switch games. So let's move on. Developing or distributing software, including YUZU, that in its ordinary course functions only when cryptographic keys are integrated without authorization, violates the DMCA's prohibition on trafficking in devices that circumvent effective technological measures, because the software is primarily designed for the purpose of circumventing technological measures. Now, therefore, it is hereby ordered that plaintiff is awarded judgment against defendant in the amount of $2.4 million. Each party shall bear its own costs and attorney's fees. In addition, and this court's equitable powers, all those writs and acts and whatnot, It is hereby ordered a permanent injunction is entered against defendant and joining it and its members, agents, servants, employees, so on and so forth, that and those acting in privity or under its control from offering to the public, providing, marketing, advertising, promoting, selling, testing, hosting, cloning, distributing, or otherwise trafficking in YUZU or source code or features of YUZU. Wow. Wow. Offering to the public, providing, and all that kind of stuff, other software or devices to do the same thing to circumvent Nintendo. Uh, wow. Directly or indirectly infringing or causing, enabling, facilitating, promoting, participating any of Nintendo's copyrights, whether now in existence or hereafter created, including but limited to the unauthorized reproduction, display, public performance, or distribution of Nintendo's copyrights. Committing any other violation of Nintendo's intellectual property rights, whether now existing or hereafter created, affecting assignments or transfers, forming new entities or associations, using any other device to circumvent or otherwise avoiding the prohibitions set forth in subparagraphs A through C. This is bad, right? For a lot of people out there looking at this as like, hey, this is a way that, you know, future Switch preservation, that kind of thing. It's kind of like the timing is crazy though. Like, what happened with all the time between when YUZU first came out up until now, that it was just like a week ago Nintendo decided to go after them, because now YUZU can no longer be publicly, you know, put out there. It cannot be marketed. It cannot be available to download. That's what this is all saying. So I kind of scrolled through the rest of this, and it pretty much just says, okay, the website no longer gets to exist, and under Nintendo's, you know, decisions, things will be destroyed, turned over to them. YUZU is just no longer allowed to exist, no longer allowed to have a presence out there, to be putting access to things. And that's essentially it. All tools used for developing or using YUZU needs to be destroyed, handed over to Nintendo. And I'm just kind of, I'm baffled. It is kind of early in the morning when I'm recording this and looking at all this stuff. I'm just like, wow, this resolved so fast. Like, why? Like, YUZU didn't want to go through this long process to come to the same conclusion. Were they not confident in the matter? And we're just like, let's just see if we could resolve with Nintendo now and not draw this out. I just find this crazy. I mean, it really is the aftermath of everything that is going to be interesting to see. Like, you know, this is another notch on Nintendo's belt, and it's specifically against emulation, more specifically Switch emulation. But there's other Switch emulators out there, and people had brought that up. Like, what about this one? What about that one? I'm saying, like, why did Nintendo take so long to pick YUZU? But it's also, who's the easiest target? Who's the one that they can get the most evidence against, infiltrate their Discord and know the location of where they're running their operation and know that they can go after them, you know, that they're not like out in the middle of China somewhere or Russia or something. And that's really what it was. Like, who could they go after? And it's interesting to see all this go down. I know a lot of people are going to be very disappointed. But yeah, there you go. Just had to give you guys the update. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you think. Bye.